All right, what is going on, guys? It's Adam A.K. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. There are fears of a new super cartel as Mexico's most violent gangs make terrifying alliance. Now, as far as this goes, everybody has talked about cartels in the last 6 months in the case of the fact that the president has not only sealed up our borders, declared them a terrorist organization, and there has been a lot of talk, not only by our CIA, by our military, by the actual government, of potential strikes down in Mexico. A lot of people are wondering if that's going to happen. And again, I do think it will. And I think that the cartels have pretty much seen that. And they said, well, hey, if our only chance of survival is to team up, then that's exactly what we're going to do. So what you supposedly have is this is the picture that is painted for us, that they are on their heels, that they think that they're going to be taken out by either the U.S. government or a combination of the U.S., Mexican, and whatever else government, so that now they have essentially teamed up to make a super cartel. Again, fears are growing over a new super cartel after the two of the most violent gangs in Mexico are believed to have formed an alliance: Jalisco New Generation Cartel, the CJNG, and the Los Chapitos faction of the Sinaloa cartel. A video spread on social media showing several armed men with two others appearing to have been captured by the drug cartels. There is no information as to the location of where the image was taken. However, those who took the video claims it shows an alleged alliance between the CJNG and the La Chapiza, a group of armed men who work for the Sinaloa cartel faction. One of those in the video is heard saying, "The rumors are true. The alliance between the New Generation Cartel and La Chapiza is confirmed." So if this is the case, this would be something, this could be a very, very wild future kind of scenario where at least the picture we're painted by the media and by the U.S. government is that these events are caused by this super cartel. I can only imagine we've gone through almost everything in our lifetimes. If you're over 30, you've probably seen some pretty crazy stuff since 2001. But I would think that this is on somebody's bingo card out there, and that we could totally see, months and months or years and years of events that are supposedly done by groups like this. I hope that doesn't happen, but again, that's what it seems like to me just looking at the patterns. Now, before we move on, I want to remind you guys, make sure to go check out marfooglenews.com/EMP. If you haven't already, this is a device that will actually protect your cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats, and pretty much anything that runs against an EMP. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. It takes 10 minutes to put in your car, and you'll be able to get home to your family to bug in or get out to bug out. It also protects your home if you want, and generators, of course, like solar and gas. So if you want that power to continue to go, even if the grid does not come back on, then I highly recommend that you put one of these on there. marfooglenews.com/EMP. Code MARF gets you $50 off. All right, let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So do you want to talk about Trump suggests Pope Leo the 14th hosts Ukraine-Russia talks in the Vatican, which is...
Yeah, this is expanding. So we heard the Pope talk about it late last week. Now we've got the, sounds kind of like the whole administration is pushing for this. So, but President Trump did suggest today that after he had his long call with Putin, that a ceasefire negotiations in Moscow should be taking place in the Vatican. They should have these negotiations there. So this was his, additional suggestion, I guess, after the Pope had mentioned it last week. So Marco Rubio also met with the Pope today, along with JD Vance. And even Marco Rubio said that he thinks it's a place that both sides would be comfortable going. But he did sort of downplay the idea that the Pope would act as a broker, although I think it's kind of a bold move for the American Pope to kind of jump in and get mixed into this right away, and trying to facilitate potential peace negotiation. It'll either work out really well for him, or it won't do much of any good if things take the same path that they continue to take, which is they get nowhere every time they try to talk.
Does anybody else kind of see that it's like immediately we have a American Pope from Chicago, and almost immediately the U.S. government is actually working with this? Is that just because now we have, Christian folks that are actually in the presidential spot? You have J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio standing right next to the Pope. The last 4 years, of course, it was very rare to see any kind of interconnection between the two. You saw a couple visits, but there was not really any direct working with the Pope other than on charitable events and things like this. Now all of a sudden you've got within a what? How long has this been the Pope? I mean, has it been a week or so, or a week and a half? And now immediately they're meeting and even talking about them doing peace talks with the Pope from Chicago. I'm sure people have some questions about that. And then Russia plans to launch intercontinental ballistic missile. And of course, we have to look at where this is coming from. Now, Reuters is the source. So as far as the source goes of this being said, most believe that that's pretty solid as far as Reuters saying it. But this is saying that Kiev is saying this, right? Now, that doesn't mean I don't believe it. In fact, if Kiev says this, then you have to look at what the narrative might be in the future. Kiev said a lot of things in the past, and of course, a lot of the stuff didn't come true. But when they say something like this, you have to pay attention because you have a lot of events happening in Europe and with NATO. Dex, as far as this goes, this is Kiev saying that they believe that Russia is going to launch intercontinental ballistic missiles.
Well, exactly. And I think the biggest struggle with that is when they do launch ICBMs, those are the things that we look for to be a nuke. And if we have to worry about whether or not it is a nuke. So I think that's sort of the big gotcha moment, is like every time they launch an ICBM, it's a big deal.
And here's the thing that I think that the picture is continually painted, that we are going to see some sort of tactical nuke or some sort of regular nuke that goes off in one place. And again, if you look, this is a picture that's been painted. Just about a week and a half ago, you had them talking, insurance companies. Now, insurance companies are supposed to basically predict the future. If you remember, insurance companies actually pulled out of California right before major events. In fact, major, fires that ended up destroying a ton. I mean, hundreds and hundreds. I don't know if it's in the thousands or in the tens of thousands of homes. The insurance basically pulled out. Now, before the events happened, before even one of my family members lost their home, we said, okay, so well, these guys are supposed to know the future. They're supposed to try to predict as closely as possible the future so that they don't lose money, right? And they decided that a chunk of almost all of this area of California wasn't insurable, right? Well, in this case, they just about a week and a half ago, they're talking about changing the insurance for the planes, for every plane in the sky, and they want the planes to stay up. They're saying that the plan that we have, if a nuke goes off anywhere, if a tactical nuke goes off in India or Pakistan, then every single plane would be basically brought down to the ground, and this is something that's been in place since the 50s. Well, they're trying to change that. There's a lot of this stuff that people forget almost immediately because by itself, it's not the hugest story. But again, or it might not even be something you would talk about at the water cooler. But when you end up putting a ton of these together, you go, wait, these are all directly connected. Why aren't people putting 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 together? This is something where, obviously a lot of people just cannot fathom a nuke going off. But I could. I don't fathom a world-ending, nuclear exchange, but a single nuke to get things started for a war that we've known was coming for a very long time, that's what I do believe will happen. But again, I don't know if that nuke will be between North and South Korea, if it will be between Russia and Ukraine, if it will be between Pakistan and India, or China and Taiwan. But I do believe that we will see one in our lifetime, and then that one nuke will be the perfect excuse to start this next war. We're in the fourth turning right now, and I think that that's exactly what will happen. Now, Dex, there was a big diagnosis over the weekend. I believe it was Sunday or Saturday, but again, they now say that the former president has what?
Yeah, he's I guess he's had cancer for a while through his presidency, but now they're coming out and saying that he had, I guess, this prostate cancer that has metastasized to the bone. And I guess there's even a lot of, questions about whether or not it was if it could have even happened that quickly. But that's the state right now. Everybody's concerned, and I think it's pretty clear that he's either getting towards the end of dealing with something very difficult, or maybe it's been in the play a long time and we just weren't told about it.
Well, as far as it happening that quickly, that's probably why there was a huge decline. I watched my friend go from esophageal cancer to brain cancer to liver cancer to bone cancer all at the same time. And it was within 6 months he was gone. So cancer, and a friend of mine who was a bouncer when I was younger, he was the image of health. He was just one of these guys who, takes off his shirt and you go, oh, you're one of those bodybuilder guys. And he was just made like that. In 4 months, he passed of cancer. So cancer is horrible. And again, most of us know that they probably wouldn't have cancers right now if they actually spent the money that everybody's been running and donating. I'm sure they could find a cure if they actually spent it on the right research. But again, that's just my opinion. As far as this goes, with JB, I wouldn't wish cancer on anybody. And I mean that, anyone. But yeah, so again, I think that he probably had this before. And obviously it probably metastasized even before. And that's why we saw the huge decline like overnight. But that's just my side theory. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. We're about to talk about a whole other set of issues that happened over the weekend. In fact, we're going to talk about what was just released by multiple countries. And again, there's some really, really freaky stuff. Exactly something that I said was going to happen as far as a technology that was released. And it's very, very terrifying. So make sure to join us. Again, it's something that you don't want to miss. Over on Marfoogle TV, our sister channel, if you are here in the chat, then just stay there. You'll be ported over. If you are watching the replay, all you have to do is click here. We'll see you in just a moment over on Marfoogle TV. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out.